Hi guys, hope everyone's okay. Hope everyone's fit and healthy and looking forward to life after lockdown. I know I am. My name's Josh Andrews. I'm going to be doing just a short video for you today just on my journey from my time at SNA through to university and life after university and how it's been affected by the pandemic. First of all, just want to say a massive thank you to the guys at SNA. I think this is a really good idea to put these videos on for people. I know there's loads more than mine today as well, so if you've got time, please go away and have a look. I know I've got a couple of friends that have done them as well. Everyone has a completely different school experience and life experience, so don't take what I say today as the be all and end all. I know a lot of my friends have had different experiences, and it's really important to see. I know I would have loved to have had the chance to kind of look at what previous students had done at university and stuff and where they are now when I was growing up. So please kind of take this chance, and thanks again to the SNA Academy. Again, really easy choice for me growing up to go to SNA. Radcliffe, born and bred through and through. So I'd been to the junior school there. I knew quite a few of the teachers that were at the school. I know Mr. Civiter had been across the junior school quite a lot, and Mr. Jackson, I think, at the time too. My sister studied there at Danecourt as it was back then, and my mum works there and still does. So, huge affiliation with the school. So no-brainer really for me to go there. And right from the get-go, all the way through school, and like I said before, everyone has different experiences. But overall, mine was really positive. Didn't struggle at school at all. Loved it. Loved going there. Obviously went across with quite a few of my friends from the junior school and met loads of new friends from all the local villages and just had an absolute blast. And I think it's true what people tell you, and you don't really appreciate it after you've finished school, but it really is, you really do need to make the most of your time there. And it's hard to see when you're actually living it yourself, but I think when you look back, you just don't know quite how good you had it back then. Not that it's hard now, but you're just so innocent when you're kids, and it's just nice to kind of have that time where you're not kind of out in the world of work and you're at school and you're learning and you're having a laugh and joke with your friends and creating loads of memories and life stories really. But yeah, just make the most of it. In regards to like the extracurricular time stuff and the support that the school put on for you, again, make the most of it. I know in terms of extracurricular activities, for me, sport was the massive one. I've got sport running through my veins, so for me, football, I joined the football team straight away, and we had quite a good football team actually at school. But from that became loads of different opportunities. I know Mr. Ballard introduced me and a couple of the other lads to the manager of the county team. I managed to go through a trial stage, and there I played 4 years for the county and captained 2 of them. Had loads of opportunities to play in front of crowds and on big stages, and play in front of scouts and things like that. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for me, but if you're out there and you're looking to kind of get into that sporting industry and playing, really good opportunity coming from the school. In relation to like the work experience as well that you get at school, really important. We got the chance to go on work experience in year 10, year 11, make the most of it. Word of advice, just make it kind of associated to something you might want to do after school. I know at the time I really had an interest in cooking and chefing, and I did some work experience for 2 weeks in a professional kitchen in Nottingham. And for me, I'm so glad I did it, because I actually decided that wasn't the career path I wanted to take. But I didn't waste years and years of my school life kind of tailoring my subjects around that in the end. And, I found out that from quite an early stage, which was good. So from there, I decided I wanted to go into sports journalism. So when I started kind of deciding on my subjects for A-levels, PE was a no-brainer, my favourite subject. Again, hats off to Mr. Lohman, Miss McCabe, Miss Hawksworth for them. They taught the subject really well and thoroughly enjoyed it. And then I did English and media as well, teachers that I loved, and just subjects that I loved that would help me get to where I wanted to be. In terms of my experience of A-levels, again, entirely different to school life. You go from year groups of hundreds of kids to all of a sudden you're in a sixth form of about 40 people, of a mixture of people in the same age group, people in the year above, people in the year below, depending on which year you're in. Really nice to mingle with some different people. I've created, some of my best friends and lifelong friends now are people I've been to school with my whole life, but I didn't really even properly meet them or know them until sixth form, which obviously I did at the school as well at SNA. So it was really nice to kind of have that different experience and kind of be more personal with people at an older age in a kind of more relaxed and laid back environment. Obviously, you've got your free periods and stuff in between your subject lessons, but make the most of them. I know I caught myself a couple of times where I probably should have been studying, and instead I was just kind of lazing around. It's good to have that off time and downtime with your friends at A levels and stuff. Obviously, at the time you've never experienced school like that and having free periods, so but definitely make the most. In regards to life after post 16, so life after A levels, I always knew that I wanted to go to university. It's just something I always wanted to do. I don't know whether it's from watching films or whatever it was. I just got this kind of association with the university and just thought it looked really exciting. It's not something my family really had done. Not many people in my family had chosen to go that way. I know if you speak to a lot of people that know me best, my best friends, I know they'll probably take the mick out of me and laugh watching this, but we always used to have this debate about apprenticeships and university and which one was better. I was always pro-university, but looking back now, I think apprenticeships probably is the way forward. I think university's become too much of a norm, as much as I think it's important, but degrees just aren't enough for anyone anymore. So just really important to kind of get a feel for what you want to do and make the decision from there. I've got a lot of friends that did apprenticeships that are really successful. So just a word of advice: don't think university is your only option because you've got so much out there. I chose to select, I think, Loughborough as my number 1 to do sport management, and then Sheffield Hallam as my number 2 to do sport business management. Again, A levels for me, massive flunk really. I struggled quite a lot with exam anxiety and performance anxiety, and that in the end kind of had a detrimental effect on my A level grades. Didn't get into my top 2 universities I wanted to go. And I think this for me was a prime example of where the school really stepped up in terms of their support for me, especially Mr. Lohman, sat with me for hours afterwards on phones and to university after university, trying to find a course that was right for me, in a location that was right for me. And in the end, I decided to go to Leeds Beckett and study sport development, which I think looking back now, probably wasn't the right course for me. I really enjoyed it, and it was 100% coursework, so it took that emphasis off the exams, which I loved. I loved everyone on the course, made friends for life there. But, in terms of what I wanted to do afterwards, perhaps not quite as specific as I wanted. But at the same time, that's also a benefit because it was quite a vague and broad course. It didn't tie you down to any particular career path. In terms of, I just knew I wanted to be in the sport industry. So in terms of that, the course was perfect. It taught you all sorts of different things from social issues within sport, racism, age, gender, sex, in terms of sport development officer and sport managing, sport analysis. It could take you down any route. So it really was kind of a good course in that sense. And it was quite a small one as well, so it was quite personal in terms of the course tutors that were leading it, which again I really enjoyed with. And when you're older as well, you can have that banter with your course leaders and tutors that you can't always have necessarily in school. It was essentially your adults then, you treated like adults, so it's quite nice. In terms of university life as a whole, could not recommend it more to people. That place and just going to university made me who I am. I don't think you quite appreciate when you're growing up just how much your parents and influential people around you do for you until you go to university, and that's where I gained all my independence really. Things like cooking, cleaning, ironing, washing, just doing things for yourself that you've never had to do before, and I think that just creates who you are as a person, who you want to be. And I just think it's so important for people to do that. And I mean, I moved out when I was 18 to go to university, and I've never lived at home full time since. And, I think I wouldn't do it any other way for me personally now. I just think that was brilliant. All the way through when I was at university as well, I had a second job, which again, I would recommend to anyone there. I was a supervisor in retail, and I did that for 2.5 years. Worked my way up, got a feel for being in management, and from then on, kind of being in management, I decided that I never really wanted to be ever any less than that. So for me, that kind of set the bar quite high, and the kind of ultimately that led to me in life after university now as an operations manager in a company called Nuffield Health, which obviously is still sport and leisure industry, which is where I wanted to be. So after I graduated, I hunted around, looked for jobs around in Leeds. That's where I wanted to stay. Loved the city, but there was just nothing really there for me. So decided ultimately to come back to Nottingham. But before I left Leeds, I got this call from my uncle, actually, who worked for Nuffield Health, basically saying that there was this opportunity in Sheffield, which, if I remember back, is where I wanted to be originally anyway, saying that there was a duty manager's role at a company called Nuffield Health, who I was fortunate enough to have some work experience with anyway through my time at university. So I knew the kind of ins and outs of the company to start with too, which I think gave me kind of an upper hand when it came to interviews. Decided to shoot my shot, and I went for it. And, I was very, very, very lucky that I managed to interview it and get the job there as a duty manager. So I spent a year and a half there, the last year and a half really, as a duty manager before the pandemic, in Sheffield, working at Nuffield Health. And I mean, I think that for me just showed me so much of how transferable some of the skills I'd learned at school, through all these subjects that you think, oh, I'm never going to know this or never going to need it when I'm older. You do, a lot of them transferable skills all the way across university life as well. In terms of my management work in retail and the skills I learnt at university on the course. And I was a duty manager for a year and a half. And then this last 6 months has been quite a big time for me, really. I wasn't getting bored of my role as a duty manager, but I think it was something I got quite comfortable with, and almost too comfortable with. Decided that I wanted a new challenge. Looked at potentially leaving the company and moving on, but was fortunate enough to apply for a new ops manager position, which came up at the club, which would have made me part of the senior management team, which for kind of a 22-year-old lad, 23 now, is quite a big jump for me. But I think you can never aim too high. I think if you're looking at this now and you've got plans for where you want to be in the future, it's nice to set out like a 5-year goal or target. I know I did, and I'm kind of well on my way to trying to get there. But yeah, been in this ops role. I mean, I meant to start on the 1st of January. Obviously went into a pandemic, so I've been basically redeployed into a hospital the last kind of 2.5 months, where I've been working within the Nuffield Health company, but just on the hospital side of the business instead of the gyms and leisure. And again, that's the experience I've learned there with the guys I've learned down or been with down in Warwick, has created kind of a sense of how I want to be as a manager going now into my new role as an operations manager, and kind of the type of manager I want to be. It's taught me a lot about health and safety and risk assessments, which is kind of my primary area now as a operations manager, my role there, and also a line manager too. So I'm now managing a group of 12 people, from lifeguards to housekeepers, to some reception staff, and that is a huge challenge in itself, being quite young and having to dish out orders to people who have, essentially got a lot more experience than you. But, we're all quite friendly, and it's almost like a family there at work. So really, really enjoying it at the moment. So, and living on my own now, I've gone from living in a house with 4 other people or 3 other people, to living on my own. And that, again, is a massive, massive step in a new city. No family, not necessarily any friends, a few friends from school that moved to Sheffield, when they went to uni, still around, but it's nice and really, really enjoying it. But again, constantly looking for something else. And I think that as a piece of advice, I know there's a quote somewhere I read, that they who say they can and they who say they can't are both usually right. And I think that is 100% truth. I think if you believe you can, you'd work hard for it. I think you can get anywhere. But those people that kind of sit away and say they can't do this, they can't do that, the mentality is not there, and they're probably right. They probably won't get there. So there's actually a clip which I'll probably forward on to the guys at SNA, which again might sound corny, and some of the people that know me probably have spoken to them about this before, but it's a video that Steve Harvey does, who's the American TV presenter, and it's called Jump. And I think it's an amazing video. It's only about 6 minutes, but it's kind of after he's finished his show of Family Feuds, he speaks to the audience, and it's probably one of the most realist, inspirational, motivational speeches that I've heard, and I'm going to send it. But he talks about this idea of jumping, and everybody in life having this gift that they just need to unlock, and that's it. And at some point in your life you need to jump, aim high. At the end of the day, like I think the analogy he used was, you can stand on a cliff and look out and be safe and a kind of general 9-to-5 job, but if you're not really loving what you're doing, you're not really living, you're just existing. And everybody needs to try and jump, and that idea of your gift, whatever it be, whether it's you know, cutting grass, baking cakes, detailing cars, or, you know, running, jumping, singing, dancing, whatever, that gift being your parachute that eventually will open and then leads you on to another life. And I think that analogy is really, really good. So definitely give that a watch if you get a chance to. But I'm about running out of time now, so I'll say a massive thank you. But that's been kind of my journey. And I hope whatever decision it is that you guys make watching this, whether it's to go to uni or do apprenticeships, you'll find your way. Just work hard, you know, speak to people. Connections are so important. You know, even the smallest little connections. You know, I've got connections now at hospital side within Nuffield. My uncle was a connection that ultimately got me this job now. You know, connections within friends and family that work within other businesses. Constantly make connections, constantly make friends. And yeah, just keep going with it. So thank you very much. Cheers.